Hello everyone, I am Bignono, and I am here to run Yakuza Kiwami, the remake of the original Yakuza on the PS2. I will be running the game's main category, any percent easy, which is as simple as it sounds. No DLC, no clear file data, just beat the game as fast as you can on the easiest difficulty. So time, we've actually had some timing changes, so time will begin on the moment we will flash the first title card. I will say when this happens, but heads up on that. So let us begin the run. So I'll say when the count should begin. Go. Okay, so welcome to Yakuza Kiwami, and the number one thing you will do a lot of in Yakuza Kiwami is skipping cutscenes. Cutscenes are long, and we want to see as little of them as possible. And it's actually a much more intricate thing to skip cutscenes in this game than you would think. It's not just pressing start. When you press start, you get a choice, yes or no, to skip the cutscene, and then you have to scroll over to yes, and then press that. You really have to make the game believe that you want to skip the cutscene. To do that as fast as possible, I actually found some new tech for that just recently. I just hold D-pad left, and I mash start and A alternately, and that's the fastest way I've found to skip through cutscenes. Sadly, this game, like any other Yakuza games, begins with a tutorial, and the problem here is the game wants to teach us all the different abilities or hits we can use in this game, and the problem with that is that it wants us to do each one of them a certain amount of times. The problem with that is that hitting several enemies with the same attack counts as doing the attack several times. So in order to be optimal, we really need to herd enemies together and hit them all at once, and it's a lot more difficult than you may think at first. This is, however, really good. This is starting out really well, because I managed to get all the enemies into the corner there, and that's really what you want to do. The problem is that Hirata here isn't quite as simple. This guy defends a lot, blocks a lot of your attacks. This was rather slow, but it's not as bad as it can be. The difference between the fastest ever tutorial I've ever seen, which was on one of my recent runs, I got like a 120.6 RTA. So that's on one end of the spectrum. What we just had was 142 RTA, and you can definitely go to 150 or even 2 minutes if you're unlucky enough. So that might put into perspective just how much time loss is just in that tutorial. As if that wasn't enough, here's tutorial 2, where we have to block attacks by this guy. The attacks he uses are random, and the time between attacks is also random. So optimally, you would want him to attack you as fast as possible, and you would generally also want him to do his triple attack, which counts as 2 attacks for this tutorial. He didn't do that, however. He decided to wait a really long time and only give us singles, so we are very mad at this man right now. He also slipped out of my grab. This is a really bad tutorial. Thing is, you would think, okay, bad tutorials, but why would you even reset on the early parts of the game? That's like a rookie speedrunner mistake. You wanna move past the first split, play the rest of the game, and that's true. However, these 2 tutorials that can go even worse than what we've seen now, they're not the extent of RNG and just terrible enemy behavior you can see in this game. There's plenty more coming up. But before I get to that, a bit of movement tech. This game, unlike most other Yakuza games, this game actually has some movement tech. First of all, we have this dash, where Kiryu sprints much faster than he does otherwise. As you can see, Kiryu has the lung capacity of a lifelong smoker, so he can't run for long. We are going to get stamina upgrades later in this run that improve the situation. but you still constantly have to monitor stamina. Make sure not to run out of stamina, because when you run out of stamina, there's this really long animation of Kiryu like stopping to catch his breath. And that in itself loses time, but it also means that enemies can catch up to you much more easily. More on that a bit later. There are other aspects of movement tech in this game as well. For one, you'll notice that Kiryu kind of jerks into motion in a weird way some of the time. The reason for that is that anytime or most of the time when I'm starting to move with Kiryu, I'm holding the walk button for a very small amount of time. The reason for that is, in a lot of cases when Kiryu is starting to move, he does this, what I call the extremely slow turn animation, or ESTA. I just make up names for stuff in this game because I'm bored. And whenever you get that, it's, you know, a very small time loss, but it builds up over the course of the run. So whenever possible, I try to disable that by just doing, when you do a walk for even, I think, 1 frame, it completely disables that animation, so you can just immediately go into your full speed. I'll try to show, after this scene, I actually have an opportunity to show what it looks like when you don't do the movement tech in there. But yeah, moving around in Kiwami is can be a bit of pain. So look here. Okay, we didn't get it this time. I'll try to show it again later. At any rate, this man Tsuboi pickpocketed us, so we are going to go get him. Tsuboi is one of a class of quite a few enemies in this game who, on easy, 90% of the time, just sit there and let you do whatever you want. But then 10% of the time, he just decides to become a real bastard and you ruin your entire day. So let's see what we get from him this time. And yeah, that was kind of rough, but that's actually okay behavior. Actually, I never realized you can move during that cutscene. I might actually start doing that, because that seems to make him very consistent. But yeah, that's pretty much what you want. You want to just grab Tsuboi right away, and when you're full health, you don't even need to charge throw him. You do more damage in this game when you're on full health. More on that later. But Tsuboi can sometimes just sit there and let you grab him, but then like 10% of the time, he will pull out this amazing unblockable combo that just goes on forever, and you can lose like 10 to 15 minutes that way, and he can decide to do it again. That's a fun thing I discovered just a few weeks ago. He can actually decide to do that combo a second time, so you'll just lose 30 seconds, and at that point you might as well return to the title screen. And we will see that behavior quite a few times. There's like 4 or 5 enemies during this run who are like that, who, again, 90% of the time are completely cooperative, but then the other rest of the time decide to ruin your day completely. Okay, so at this point in the run, you'll notice I'm not talking about the story. That's because Yakuza Kiwami's and the original Yakuza's story are incredibly convoluted. And even when you play through the game, the things that are happening don't entirely make sense. But the long and short of it is... The long and short of it is that Kiryu, in the original Yakuza, buys a ring to a woman he's in love with called Yumi. And in Yakuza Kiwami, they decided to flesh out a lot of the other characters and a lot of the other stories from the original Yakuza. So they thought to themselves, you know what fans really want to know? They really want to know, like, the trials and I can't speak English. The trials and tribulations that Kiryu went through to procure the ring. That's extremely important. So we get this entire scene where, after we catch the guy who pickpocketed us, we try to get the ring back from the pawn shop. And then there's this whole thing where we get money from Shinji for to get the ring back. But at the end, the pawn shop owner notices that the ring has an engraving on it for Yumi, and he believes us that the ring belongs to us, so he gives it to us for free. Do we give Shinji back his 150,000 yen? Of course not. We need that for the speedrun. Sorry, Shinji, but speed over friendship. Introducing next are the two most useless characters in the entire series, Tamura and Aoki. Tamura and Aoki are information dealers, and Tamura is supposed to be training Aoki. In the original game, this makes much more sense because Tamura looks like he's around 70 and Aoki looks like a young man, but they both kind of look in their 30s here, so I really don't know what the deal is. We will see these guys several times during the run, each one completely unnecessary, and I will probably complain about each and every one of them. So get ready for that, I suppose. So at this point, we got word that Yumi, again, the woman Kiryu's in love with, has been kidnapped by Dojima, who's the big boss of our big Yakuza family, and we're headed to his office to see what's up. But first, here's Hirata again. Again, if Hirata couldn't ruin your run the first time around, he tries to do that again with this guy, Hashiguchi. Hashiguchi was very cooperative this time, but again, he's one of those guys who can sometimes just decide to go the extra length to take time off your run. This time, however, he just sat there, which was very nice, and we even managed to defeat him before Hirata could club us in the head, so good times. Good times in the sense of having fun, not in the sense of the pace. This was a rather unfortunate first chapter, to be honest. A lot more went wrong than usually goes during a run. But maybe we will make up for it coming up. So Kiryu is in jail now, and we are going to provide a smackdown to a few people sent here to kill him. The reason that people are trying to kill Kiryu in jail is that we took the blame from Nishiki for killing Dojima, the family boss who kidnapped Yumi, because he has a sick sister, and we wanted to... Kiryu wants him to be able to take care of her. So we're taking the punishment for him. And yeah, here's the result. Run killers in a speed game, I know. Imagine your run sometimes not being able to PB. Okay, so we are now in Chapter 2. Chapter 2 takes place exactly, well, I don't know about exactly, but 10 years after after Chapter 1. So Kiryu is now being released from prison. And we are going to meet a very beloved, very important character in this chapter. A character who is actually quite important to the rest of the run. But before that, I'm going to learn one ability. So in Chapter 1, we played the fully leveled up Kiryu. After 10 years in prison, he has lost his edge. Luckily, we do have 2 skill points, and I'm going to use one of those to learn an ability called Max Crush. I will explain what Max Crush does in a moment, but first of all, here's everyone's favorite lad, Goro Majima. Yeah! This bit kind of introduces the Majima Everywhere system that I will talk more about later. Basically, you can run into Majima at pretty much any point in the game, and it's quite bad when it happens. It is quite bad when it happens. Oh, that's a really cool Majima emote. I've not seen that one before. Alright, so what are we going to do? We're going to grab this pizza sign and smack Majima with it. What this will do, you'll notice underneath my health bar there's now a full glowing blue bar. That is called the heat meter. Heat is what governs our ability to use special moves, such as this one. You'll notice that I just took a huge chunk of Majima's HP bar off. The reason for that is... Hold on. This charge throw. So this charge throw, or Max Crush, is the... Sorry, I'm gonna need to focus for a moment. Yeah, so it turns out that after you use Max Crush, for some reason, and we have no idea why this is, we don't imagine it's intentional, but for some reason, your heat moves suddenly do a lot more damage. Okay, that was a decent Majima, all things considered. So yeah, that's what allows me to do a significant amount of damage to Majima. This fight with Majima, you're supposed to lose it. But if you get through it successfully, you actually gain 100 experience points, which is going to be very, very useful. So we defeat Majima in easy, normal, and in New Game Plus. In New Game Plus, we don't need the experience. It's just faster to defeat him. In Legend, even if you could beat Majima, it would take too long. Like, you can beat Majima on Legend, but it takes like 15 minutes, and it's just not worth it, because at that point, the time you get from these extra experience points just isn't worth it. So I'm picking up a few abilities here. I'm picking up an ability called Grab Mastery. Grab Mastery makes it so that if we grab an enemy at the beginning of a fight, it fills up our heat meter considerably, and we are going to be using that a lot over the course of the run. Actually, at later in this very chapter. I also grabbed a bunch of health and attack upgrades, and I also grabbed an ability that I've mentioned this ability before, that increases our damage significantly when we're at full health. So, and this is what makes Kiwami, despite being played on easy, not an easy run at all. In order to be optimal, it's not just about surviving fights. We have to get hit as little as possible. And that makes the run very, very dangerous, very volatile, very exciting to me. So that's the full health upgrade to your damage and Max Crush. Those are basically the basis for most of the fighting in this game. Those are the two main reasons why Kiwami is relatively short for a Yakuza run. This game runs just under 2 hours RTA. I actually think it's shorter. The only Yakuza game that's shorter RTA is Kiwami 2. Every other game in the series is longer. The speedrun is longer, that is, sometimes significantly. It goes from runs like this that are 2 hours or just over 2 hours, and then there's the Yakuza 5 run that's almost 6 hours long. So, never running that one personally, but my appreciation to those who do. And like I said, this is Aoki, one of the useless characters from before. So what we did right now, remember how we were on that one street where we fought Majima? We're looking for a place where we're supposed to meet a confidant of our old family boss. And it turns out that to get there, it's like exactly where we started up. So this whole trip was for nothing. We could have just looked at the sign, seen that, you know, this is obviously Club Stardust, as you can see from the sign right there, and nothing would be lost. But this game is very, very faithful to the original Yakuza. Hold on. Max Crush, and Heat Move. And that takes care of Yuya. But yeah, Kiwami is loyal to the original Yakuza to a fault, and that game tried to get you to explore more of the city by just like sending you on wild goose chases like that. It's kind of weird. Anyway, I promised that we would be using Grab Mastery in this chapter, and this is where this happens. So you'll notice that because I used that heat move on you outside, my heat bar is empty. Look at it now, completely filled. And we can use this move called the hit swing, which hits 3 enemies at the same time. It finishes off many enemies. And now I can just clean up here. We have these guys to take care of. And where's the knife? Hello? Hello? Oh, okay, here's the knife. That's my favorite part of this fight, finding the knife after cleaning up all the other enemies, and that finishes that fight. But just notice how powerful grab mastery was in there. Not only did it add some damage to the mini-boss, not only did it take care of 2 of his goons, but also it gave us a lot of space, and that's probably the most important thing about Heat Swing, is that all the enemies, after you do Heat Swing, are going to be pretty far away from you and are going to give you some time to move around. So that they gave us the time we need to move onwards and grab the weapon and just hit all those enemies up. Okay, now we are at a funeral. It turns out that the new chairman of the Tojo clan was murdered. And this, for some reason, is where we're going to be meeting our old boss from before we went to prison. Reminder, though, that everyone here believes that Kiryu killed the old Dojima family boss. So we can't really just come in saying who we are. So we're going to lie a bit here. And we're going to try and sneak around to get to the backstage area where we can meet our boss. Kazama, by the way. So in the original game, this is a very short sequence. You go into the funeral hall, someone says, oh, I misplaced my badge that allows access to the staff area of the funeral, and you just use that. But in here, for some reason, again, they felt that random funeral employee who lost his mourning badge needed some backstory, needed some lore. So here we are. He took back the badge, and now he's talking to the boss. The boss is very displeased with him, so he quits. And now we're going to go outside, and he'll tell us that he's going to stop working in this business altogether because he doesn't want to be involved with organized crime, making him the one and only reasonable character in this entire series. He also tells us that he threw away his badge, so he can just run right back here to the trash can and pick it up. Again, this entire sequence is not in the original game. Why they felt they had to add this, I could not possibly tell you. At any rate, no matter. Now we start fighting. Now there's combat. Now it's really a video game. So this big dude over here is from the Omi Alliance, which is the Tojo clan's biggest competitor. Kind of weird that he's here, but no worries, because we are just going to grab him, do a charge throw, and do a heat move. The Kiwami signature move. And here we meet up with Shinji again. And now we're ready to go meet Kazama. And there's something that I really like doing with Shinji, which is right here, and whoop! just knock him over like a pile of clothes. It's very not nice of me, and I'm pretty sure it's slower to knock Shinji down like that, but I'm literally never going to stop doing that. It's too funny to me. At any rate, I just bought some healing items. Again, we want to be full health whenever possible, so those healing items will help us make sure of that. And I also bought a dagger, because daggers are going to be useful. And here's some really advanced PC tech for you. I'm actually using a keyboard and mouse for this part, because this is like the tutorial that teaches you how to use first-person mode. So very fancy keyboard and mouse. You probably hear my keyboard clicking away. Very pleasant, very good. Okay, portrait room fight. We want to grab a couch and swing it at all these guys. Hopefully we'll get them all in one swing, but that's very rare. And we actually got probably the worst RNG, which is one of those guys just completely stepping out of the way, and we have to chase him down. That's fine. Marathon luck is a thing. Okay, so now a bunch of dudes are gonna come at me. So what I want to do is I want to swing this lantern at them and hopefully take them all out without getting hit. Nice. That dude threw a dagger at us, but he can't really aim. And I just dodged out of the way. Alright, being full health here is very good, because this guy sometimes takes a longer combo if you're not on full health. So that's good for us. I really don't like where that lantern landed, honestly. Can I pick it? Okay, I can pick it up. Alright, so... Again, we're using the lanterns. The reason why I threw the lantern over here was exactly for that, so I can grab it and use it with all the enemies still bunched up. Oh, that's not cool. Oh, that's not cool either. Okay. So this is a strat I've been starting to use recently, where you pick up the knife. The problem with that is it's kind of... If you miss one of the hits, it takes up a use of the knife. But that's fine. I can still grab this guy, knock him down, and stomp him. The old strat with this guy was to use a charge throw on him. The problem with that is that you have to switch to beast style, switch back, and then... switch to beast style, use the charge throw, and then switch back. Which, switching between styles takes time. It's actually a very non-trivial amount of time, so we try to avoid that where possible. I'm gonna do a little spin here, just because that brings out the enemies more. Alright, very good. Okay, nice. Just makes the enemies bunch up together more, which allows us to take them down with more combos. I actually haven't, now that I think about it, I haven't talked about fighting styles. So, Kiryu has 3 fighting styles in this game. Actually 4, but we never used the 4th one, which is Dragon. So the 3... Well, Dragon is also in Yakuza 0. At any rate, you may recognize them from Yakuza 0. Brawler, which is kind of a mid-catch-all type of style. Rush, which is a very fast style. And then there's Beast, which is slow but does a lot of damage. And we're going to use Brawler and Beast for most of the run, but Rush... In Rush, your movement speed is much faster than the other styles, so we are going to want to use it some of the time. And I accidentally defaulted to an old strat here. My apologies. Hopefully Majima won't be too troublesome. So he can't trigger Majima early here, but then he can do that. And that's not good. You don't want him to do that. No, Kiryu hit the other guy. The targeting system in this game, yeah, can be interesting sometimes. At any rate, this was a bit of a mess due to me being confused, but we got out of it all right. By the way, Majima is also not here in the original game, so he has this weird dialogue about Shimano coming up and how you might want to be careful. Thankfully, we won't have to be too careful of Shimano because he's not that bad in this run, but more on that later. So we're just gonna be cleaning up these boys. And now it's time for this set piece's boss fight. So Shimano, people who've played this game casually may remember him unfavorably, because he can be a real pain. He has this move where he regenerates a lot of his health. Luckily, we wouldn't have to deal with that, because by using Max Crush and then a heat move with the dagger, we basically one-shot this guy. So he never gets a chance to use his very annoying regeneration, which is very good for us. And that's the end of that. So this was the first big set piece of the game. So there's these parts we call set pieces in Yakuza games, where it's basically just this string of fight sequences. And that is the first one in Kiwami. And now we're back in Kamurocho. And for the first time, we can go anywhere we want in the city. We're not limited in any way, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. Because, we're going to be walking around a lot. But there's also other people walking around. Not just normal NPCs, but also fight spawns. Fight spawns are basically Yakuza's random fights, just random groups of enemies. We actually see one right in front of us. And look at this. When I talk to these NPCs, that group of enemies that was looking at me thinking bad thoughts just disappeared. So fight spawns are a problem. They try to catch up to you, and if they catch up to you, they start a fight, which costs a lot of time, and we don't want that to happen. One way to deal with that is, like you saw right now, when you talk to an NPC, it first of all, it always de-aggroes any fight spawns that are on you. But it also, in many cases, despawns them. So they're completely gone and they won't aggro onto you again. Which is probably the best way to get rid of these fight spawns. We will also see other types of fight spawns and other way to deal with them, but I'll comment on that as it happens. For now, I'm just getting some stuff for later in the game. These are just some errands mostly for a story beat later in the game. But another item I got here is called the Elder Belly Warmer. What the Elder Belly Warmer does is it significantly ups your strength when you fight a large group of enemies. And that's going to happen a lot in this run, so this item is actually very useful to us. Meet Bob Utsunomiya, who gives us prizes for completion points. Completion points are sort of like what you get for doing achievements in this game. And we will use Bob specifically to get stamina upgrades. So that was one of the 2 stamina upgrades that we are going to get over the course of this run. Okay, so in the story now, we are looking for a woman called Mizuki, who looks exactly like Yumi, the woman Kiri was in love with before he was arrested. But Mizuki couldn't be Yumi because she has a tattoo and a different hairstyle. And as you all know, hairstyle and tattoos, that's not something that changes over the course of a person's life, so it's definitely a different person. You may also be hearing a familiar voice behind me. That voice is the voice of Majima. Another type of encounter of fight spawn in this game is Majima himself. Again, the Majima Everywhere system, you can just run into Majima literally everywhere in the city. And Majima is an especially big time loss, so we will take extra care to avoid him. What I'm going to do here is, one of the misconceptions about Yakuza runs is that you always want to get rid of the mini-bosses first, and that is simply not correct. Because when a mini-boss or a boss gets taken out, all of the other enemies in the fight get feared, which, is when they start glowing up and they go like, and like slowly walk away from you. The problem with that is everyone kind of scatters around and you can't finish them off as efficiently. So I try... You can't do this in all fights because in some fights the boss or mini-boss is just too deadly. But a lot of the time I try to just get rid of the minions first. And that's usually faster. The old strat there was to just pick up the bike and swing it around, and that way you get rid of the mini-boss first. But then the enemies just scatter all over that map, and it's very, very slow to clean them up. So at this point in the game, there are no other, no random fight spawns and no sub-stories. Because they wouldn't really want us to start a sub-story when we're carrying out Haruka like this. But coming up, there is one scripted fight. And this fight will show you what we do with fight spawns, at least in the first half of the game, if we do get into them. Because this is how random fight spawns look a lot of the times in the early game. It's just you versus 3 dudes. So what I do in that situation, I grab one of the enemies. Even if I don't have heat, I have grab mastery, so I get my heat back immediately. Just grab one of them, heat swing, and that gets rid of all 3. The problem begins later in the game when fight spawns start consisting of 4 and even 5 enemies. And then there's honestly nothing too quick you can do. If you get into a fight spawn in the later parts of the game, especially in the, higher end of times in Yakuza Kiwami, your run is probably just dead. So this is Haruka, by the way. You may know who this is. Haruka gives us a lead. Apparently, Mizuki owns a bar called Eris in the infamous Millennium Tower. So we're going to go over there to check it out. Before that, up and I teleported to the other side of the road. The cool thing with Kiwami is that a lot of the triggers for events are not based strictly on distance. They're based on vertical or horizontal lines. So I can just cross that line on the other side of the street and get teleported here, and it saves us a bit of time. Just a cool little time save. Alright, so we did get hit in the fight before, so I'm gonna have to heal here. You never... Oh, I forgot. That's me autopiloting. We actually need to trigger this cutscene first. So yeah, I'm going to want to heal here. I see a lot of people in this game pause, like wait in the beginning of an area to access the menu and heal. Don't do that. That's just a time waste, because there's actually a cooldown after entering an area until the first time you can actually use an item. So just start running and like mash the menu button during your run. And that way you'll save that little bit of time that you would have lost by just standing there. Alright, this is Hayashi. Hayashi is from the Omi Alliance. Hayashi is going to get Charge Throne. And hopefully... so if no one hits me in that part, I can actually do a lot of damage to Hayashi. And then he basically gets one shot. But unfortunately, we are going to have to Charge Throw this man once more. Oh, and he actually had even more health. Okay, this might be a bit bad. Okay, no, we can just finish him off. It's fine. Alright. That's cool. That's still a time loss, but it can be a lot worse. If you don't finish him off with the one charge throw, then he sometimes can start doing big combos and mess you up completely. So we're still good. So between Mizuki and her bar and meeting all these people from the Omi Alliance, Kiryu doesn't really know what to make of the events of the game. So at this point, he decides to track down this legendary information dealer by the name of the Florist of Sai. And this florist is also something of a series staple. He appears in many games in the series. However, before we go to visit him, we are going to go down this alley and trigger this sub-story. So this is any percent. We don't have to do any sub-stories if we don't want to. However, we are going to do this one. And we'll find out why in a moment. So Morioka here is another one of those enemies who sometimes is nice, but then sometimes just ruins your day. Let's see what he does now. Okay, he came quietly. So a charge throw and a stomp is all we needed there. Whew. Sorry. Had to rehydrate. But yeah, that fight can go quite badly, but that's actually very, very rare. Usually that fight goes okay. At any rate, we're going to meet the florist now, and the reason we did that sub-story is for that reward we got at the end, the leech gloves. The leech gloves are actually a fairly cool item, but we're not going to use the leech gloves for their use value, we are going to use them for their exchange value. We are going to sell them for a cool 500,000 yen, which we will use later. Now we have arrived at Purgatory. Purgatory is Kamurocho's red light district, for all that means. And I'm going to use this sequence to actually unequip my dagger and the belly warmer. And the reason for this will be revealed shortly. So here we are going to finally meet the florist. And the florist actually has a very weird condition for us. He doesn't want us to buy information. He wants us to fight for the information. He says that if we'll put on a show for his audience at his Coliseum, he'll give us the information we want. So that is what we're doing now. And you can't use any gear when you're in here, so that's why I had to remove my equipment. So the strats here are very simple. It's just going to be a bunch of charge throws and heat moves. That's it. That's going to be all three enemies. On the older route, we actually there actually used to be some variants here, where on the third fight we would have to use a charge throw and then a second charge throw and only then do a heat move. So, you know, whoa, big tech right there. The problem with that was that sometimes, very rarely, but it still happens sometimes, the second grab on this guy, Gary Buster Holmes, the legend, by the way, many times you couldn't get the second, well, not many times, but very rarely the second grab would get denied by him. And then he would like do a QTE and do a heat move, and it would be very, very unfortunate. So thankfully, we no longer have to deal with that. So the florist is here giving us some information. Sadly, he's going to inform us in a moment that our friend Date is getting the ever-loving fudge beaten out of him outside. I'm not sure how much I can swear on this stream. I try to keep it family friendly, just to be on the safe side. So I use the word fudge. I hope that's fine. And yeah, we're going to help Date not get wrecked, basically. So this upcoming fight is pretty easy, but it can go kind of wrong because these guys don't do a lot of damage, but they are very aggro. Making you want fudgesicles? Man. I've never had a fudgesicle, but they do sound like it sounds like a good concept. Like it's fudge and an icicle. I don't possibly see how that could ever go wrong. Anyway, yeah, so Date apparently came here to tell us that, and remember this sentence because this is going to be something of a motif of this run. Haruka got kidnapped. So Haruka got kidnapped, and we are rushing to save her. Before that, though, remember we took off our equipment for the Coliseum fights, so we are going to put that all back up and go here in the batting cages. And I'm going to have to stall for a bit to say, guess who kidnapped Haruka? It's everyone's favorite Goro Majima! Yeah! So this Goro Majima is much easier than the first Goro Majima, thankfully. We are just going to do a heat move on him. We already have heat from the fight over in Purgatory. And after that, we are going to finish off one of these guys. And we're going to start using these bats. So bats are actually generally not a good weapon in Yakuza. But in Kiwami, for some reason, they are really, really good. So there's your cleanup. I'm actually thinking about trying a strat here. I want to try to finish Majima last in this fight, because as you've seen, the way everyone's scattered after you finish him off is a bit of a problem, but I'm not sure it's worth it. I'm not sure there's a way to make that anywhere near consistent. Frozen melting fudge. Yep. Exactly. How can you not like it? See, I don't even know what a bomb pop is. I've never heard of those. Probably the best kind of, like, how do you call them? Ice cream treats? Whatever you call it. Frozen treats. The best one we have around here is called Shokobo, which is basically, it's a fudge icicle, but then it has like this big thing of this big square of fudge on the inside, like extra fudge on the inside, and it's so good. It's been probably around 5 years since I last had one. Red, white, and blue popsicle. Oh, gotcha. So it's the most patriotic of all popsicles. So actually haven't commented on this at all because I was so taken with the popsicle discussion. So this is Kameki. Kameki is another recurring character in Yakuza. He teaches Kiryu all sorts of moves. We can't skip this Kameki sequence, which is a shame because that would have saved us a few minutes in the run. However, the move he teaches us, while it's not really useful to be, it's not really useful enough to take the extra time that you need to learn it. If we already have it, there's actually use for it later in the run. So we are going to use this move, even though I would gladly skip it. At any rate, in this chapter, we are kind of going off the main story path for a bit. This is the sort of thing that in future Yakuza games would happen purely in sub-stories. So we're not really advancing the main story in this part of the game. We're actually going to be getting some extra characterization for two characters. First, the florist, and then Date. So in this segment with the florist's son, estranged son, I should say, is apparently running away from some Yakuza, and we need to go and help him, so we are running right back to the batting cages where we fought Majima. Nothing really to say on the way there, so does my erudite host have anything to announce, say, explain, etc.? I'll take that as a no. I also hope... erudite is a good thing, right? I don't know why I decided to use that word for the first time there. Literally, first time I used that word. At any rate, this is Takashi. This is the florist's son. We are going to help Takashi by stabbing him in the gut with a knife. that should definitely get the florist on our good side. Stabbing his son like that. Now I'm going to use a heat swing here. These guys are Takashi's old gang. And they're also chasing him apparently. I'm going to knock these guys down. Hopefully. Okay, I didn't fully get rid of both of these guys, but this guy is one shot. So that's kind of almost the most optimal way you can do this fight. You wait for the Bee King to get up and do his like Kiwami thing. Oh my god. And then you go in the meantime you go smack his leftover minions. Oh my god, what? What was that's really weird. Okay, just to finish off, I'll explain what was so weird about that in a moment. So, so yeah, that's you smack the two guys, then you finish off the mini boss, the Bee King, and then you clean up what's left. No, that's fine, Mesh. I was just trying to use you to fill up. Oh my god, what am I doing? I was just trying to use you to fill up some time, but I failed. Oh my god, this is bad. Oh no, tell me that that didn't just happen. I meant to use that on the big guy, on the mini boss, but I ended up using it on one of the goons. Alright, that's fine. Oh my god. Alright.
Stay hydrated, everybody.
Thank you, Mesh. Okay, that's fine. Oof, that was really bad. So the reason I was so confused before is there are a few different types of fight spawns in this game. One of them that we've seen multiple times already is just you see a group of suspicious looking dudes just walking down the street, and they see Kiryu and they look at him and they start yelling things and chasing you. There's also fight spawns that consist of just one guy, but the one guy fight spawns, you have to aggro them. You have to actually walk into them to get them pissed off and running after you. And that guy over there got aggroed for apparently no reason. Like, I don't really know what happened there. I'm gonna have to check the VOD. But yeah, there's your... there's your... that's never happened before moment for this run. You can fill out your bingo pages. Pages? How do you call the things they use in bingo? At any rate.
Cards?
I'm sorry? Cards. Yes, bingo cards.
I call them bingo cards.
Yes. Thank you very much. For getting my bingo terminology.
It's been years since I've actually played bingo before in my life.
Oh, you have? I've actually never played it. It's not really a thing around here.
Yeah, it used to be it's a big thing in trailer parks, I'll tell you that much.
I can see that. Like I've seen it many times in you know, sitcoms and such, but never in actual real life.
Yeah, well, the sitcoms definitely are true to life because there's no way you're beating the old nannies that are in there. they will definitely have the edge on you.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've been led to believe that basically everything that happens in sitcoms is true to real life. Like that seems like a very...
Some form or matter.
Yeah. At any rate, here's our second and final stamina upgrade of the run. We used to get this one a bit earlier, but we actually get less completion points in this run on the new route. So that's a change that happened. At any rate, so like I said, we're done with with the florists part of this chapter, and now we're gonna start with Date. Date was supposed to meet his daughter in this park, but got drunk and forgot to do it. So that's Date for you. And now it turns out his daughter is up to no good. So we are going to see what's up. Apparently, she's been put up to some nasty stuff by her boyfriend, a man by the name of Shotaro or Shota. And we are going to pay this Shotaro a visit. And apparently, he's working in a pub in the Champions District, which is probably maybe my favorite part of Kamurocho. It's a lot of these little, really small buildings and streets, and always cool stuff to do there in Yakuza games. And here you see, like, that's how a fight spawn should work. Like, they should just be, a group of enemies should be running at you. A single person shouldn't be. I will probably continue to complain about this through the rest of the run because I'm very... The thing with speedrunning is that every time you learn of a new thing your speed game can do, even if it's not a problem when it actually happens, you're always going to be scared of if it actually happens on an actual run on good pace. So yeah, this is going to be giving me nightmares for the rest of the week, probably. Alright, at any rate, we went down to the Champions District, and it turns out that Shotaro is no longer working there. He's working at Stardust. Again, the game had us literally right next to Stardust and sent us some other way, and now we have to go back to Stardust. Why? Why, Yakuza Kiwami? Why are you like this? Who hurt you? I ask. And there is no answer. This game is just pure evil, if we're being honest. That's my conclusion from running this game for over 6 months now. The game is pure evil. At any rate, as I've mentioned before, I'm going to try and take care of the minions in this fight first, and it actually looks like this is starting out pretty well so far. Can I grab this guy as he's getting up? Excellent. It's really hard to grab Takoda normally because he will just... he's very quick, and he will just dodge all over the map. Oh my god. So grabbing him as he's coming back up from the floor, that actually saved us a lot of time. Sega hurt Kiryu, time to fight back. Ooh, that is true. There's been a lot of hurt over the past few games. Okay, and now we're finally at the last fight of this chapter, this time against Shota himself. Shota is actually not too bad. He will fall to a single knife heat move as long as he comes over here. Okay, great. If he stands next to the table, then you do a slightly weaker heat move, and you actually need to hit him again after the heat move to finish him off. But luckily, that is not the case here. We are doing just fine. Oh, and that's a good Shota fight. Actually, these last two fights were pretty damn good. If that fight on the first part, on the florist part of the chapter, if that hadn't gone horribly wrong, we might have actually saved time in this chapter. But yeah, chapter 6 is one of my golds on the PB, so it's kind of rough to run against. I typically lose about 30 to 45 seconds on on that chapter when I do runs. At any rate, so at this point in the game, Mizuki, we are led to believe, is dead. So we try to find out more information, and it turns out that the man who gave her tattoo is the same man who tattooed Kiryu, gave him his big dragon tattoo on his back. So we are going to go to this tattoo artist, ask him what's up. When we do, he says it's a fake. He didn't actually do the tattoo himself. But, and you'll have to excuse me, I literally don't remember how one thing leads to another in this chapter. But somehow this lets us get in touch with Nishiki. Nishiki, our estranged brother, estranged is not the correct word here. I'm just using fancy words that I know nothing about, which is the mark of an ignoramus. So I should stop doing that. Yeah, so Nishiki, we took the fall for him, went to prison for 10 years, and when we come back, he's actually quite hostile to us, and we don't know why. So, this is a point where I take some issue with this game and with some of the fandom, because this game added a lot of scene really explaining in detail why Nishiki suddenly hates Kiryu. And there's this whole thing about Nishiki trying to build up his own family and no one respecting him because everyone respects Kiryu more, and he grows more and more resentful. And it kind of makes a lot of the subtext that there was in the original game story, makes it text. And I kind of resent that, because I think it was much more clever and much better when these things were implied, instead of just, you know, told to you explicitly through cutscenes. Because if you read between the lines of what happens in the original game, you clearly notice that Nishiki already resents Kiryu back in Chapter 1. You don't need all those extra... Oh, no. Okay. Another thing, I don't know, the fight spawns are super aggro today. Alright, that's fine. So, usually when you pick up a locker key like I did there, it usually doesn't, it actually never despawns the fight spawns, but it does de-aggro them. But those guys just remained aggro the whole time, and I don't know why. And now I'm going to talk to Date. I almost didn't make it. So I talked to Date, and that despawned those guys. That's why it's sometimes really useful to have an NPC walking around with you, because you can usually talk to them and use that to despawn enemies. But yeah, they kind of like to run right behind you, so when you try to run to them, they run in circles around you, and it can be kind of scary. But we made it. Only one fight spawn. We're still good. Alright, so... Oh, and I forgot. Haruka got kidnapped, by the way. Yes, again. And what we're doing right now is we're basically going around. We were told that she was last seen in one of the parks. Luckily, Kamurocho only has 3 parks, so we're just going to check all 3 of them. Alright, there can be a fight spawn up here, so I need to focus for a bit. Okay, we're good. There's a fight spawn, but it's very far away. Anyway, once we get to this park, we meet these guys in black, who turns out they're the ones who kidnapped Haruka. And then a fight ensues. So the strat here is kind of dangerous, but it goes like this. We need to change the beast and tilt our camera backwards. And oh no, that's really bad. That's really bad. Okay. I'm gonna just use this and try to recover this fight a bit. So, yeah, I wanted to grab that one enemy and do a heat swing, but that didn't quite pan out. Usually you get a gun back here that you can use to make this fight much faster. Sadly, we did not get the gun pickup. That's just how it goes sometimes. This run is very, very weird so far. It is definitely not going particularly well, but it's Kiwami. Kiwami sometimes just hates you and makes you lose. Out of spite. Like I said, this game is pure evil. So usually you would use a gun to take care of the minions and then just charge through the boss, but the gun was nowhere to be seen. It was actually in that corner there. So I had to improvise with the slower weapons, but we got through. So we're A-okay. So at this point in the game, Haruka has already been kidnapped twice. And Date correctly suggests that, you know, Haruka is probably, you know, quite stressed, quite traumatized, and sometime with us just spending quality time could be good for her. So, what better place to take such a traumatized 10-year-old girl than an illegal gambling house? Sounds like a good idea, right? So that's where we're headed next. And before that, I will have to remember to heal, because we actually need to be full health for this part. Okay, there's a fight spawn there. I'm gonna talk to an NPC down here to despawn it. This is very delicate. Okay, cool. So we did that. Now I'm going to heal. Is this enough, actually? Yeah. And we're going to enter the gambling house here. Now, there's a very strange quirk with this entire gambling house section. So as you're going to see right now, after I skip this cutscene, we are going to bet on this dice game. And Haruka is going to be the one telling us what to bet on. So in the original game and on the PS4 version of this game, Haruka always gives you the correct answer. And in this phase of this entire event, we're always going to win the bet. However, on PC and possibly on other console versions, I'm not sure, there's a possibility that Haruka will get the result wrong. And we're not really sure why. It's a very weird bug. I used to think it has something to do with frame rate. I don't think so anymore. It's weird. But remember that in the game's narrative, we always win in this part. So that's going to explain something that's going to happen later. So just imagine that we keep winning in this part, despite the game just having us lose on the last round, and this round as well. Every time Haruka narrows her eyes like that, that's a loss. So we've won. We've won all the rounds, remember. And now, this guy is going to take a break, take the dice with him, and when he comes back, for the first time ever, this has never happened before, we are going to try and guess the result here, and Haruka will get it wrong, which is unprecedented, remember. And when this happens, Kiri gets very upset and accuses the dealer of cheating, at which point the dealer and his buddies attack us. Now, here's a huge bit of RNG in this game. I'm going to try and grab this man. It worked. And you see the heat swing takes care of both him and his buddy. That's both mini bosses taken care of. And now we just need to clean up. So that's what happens most of the time with this fight. However, some of the time, the dealer can dodge and hit you. And when that happens... No, sorry. That you can actually deal with by healing and trying again. But sometimes you'll grab the dealer and his friend will hit you. So your heat swing won't actually finish off both of them. Both of them will still be alive. And at that point, the fight is a complete mess. And if that happens, chances are your run is dead because you're going to lose like 30 seconds to a minute at that point. And if you want to know if that's ever happened to me, have I ever lost a run to that? Yes, I have. I have lost somewhere around 5 to 10 runs to that. One of them just 2 days ago. Always forget outside the deep mechanics, the lore is really deep. Yeah, the lore of the Yakuza games is quite complex, and in this game I would even say very convoluted. As you may have realized, I have my issues with this game's presentation of the story, shall we say. I think a lot of Yakuza games have really good stories. In fact, the game after this, Yakuza 2 or Kiwami 2, they have the same story. Has a really great story, and one of the best villains I've ever seen, Ryuji Goda. But in this first game, the stories kind of slapped together, to be honest, and it's not very good. The thing is, they weren't really trying to make like this grand plot-based game. It's more just trying to like show you different aspects of the crime world. It's sort of a very smoking in the boys' room sort of thing. Oh my god, stop that. So yeah, their purpose at that point was never to build a very deep narrative. So it just, it keeps coming up with excuses to show you this gang and this illegal thing and here and there. And it does what it does admirably, especially considering this game originally came out on PS2. Well, not this game, but like the game this is a remake of. Oh no, what have I done? I need the knife to take care of these guys. Alright, so after stabbing Shindo there, we are going to use these bladed weapon to finish these guys off. You need to be really careful here because bladed weapons in Yakuza hurt a lot. They stun you, they cause you to fall to the ground. You can lose easily half a minute on this fight if you get unlucky. So you need to be very clean if you want to guarantee a good time here. Yeah. So just to wrap up about the plot, it's not great, but it's not really meant to be great. So it's kind of, you can forgive it. I still, my favorite game in the series casually by far is Yakuza 0, but I still really recommend playing this game. I still think it's a very good game. Anyway, at this point, we're going to get some more abilities. So you may have seen that the heat meter actually has two parts, one blue, one red. Red heat is what we call Climax Heat. Climax Heat both increases your damage and also unlocks some new moves. So for example, the heat swing that we use is only available when you're in Climax Heat. So we're getting some more heat, getting some more Climax Heat. And I also got an ability called Knockdown Grab, which allows you to pick up enemies that are lying down on the floor, stunned on the floor. We're going to... It's partially for safety, but we're also actually going to use it in the finale. Okay, so... Again, and I told you this would be something of a theme, something of a motif. Haruka's been kidnapped. Again. Why do they not watch this girl a bit better? Who knows? But yeah, we are going to go through the city, and Haruka's been kidnapped by these gangs called the Color Gangs, each one with its own color, unsurprisingly. And we're going to pay visits to all three to see who knows where Haruka is. So here I'm going to attempt to use a heat swing, but this actually can be a bit tricky. Okay, that's cool. That guy on the left sometimes moves away from you, so you need to be able to catch up to him before the guy in the middle uses his stun gun on you. Stun guns are bad. They are kind of... They have sort of the same effects like knives, but the stun they cause lasts longer, so you really, really want to avoid being hit with stun guns. Next up, that was the blue gang. Next up is the white gang, which is going to put up more of a fight, but this is actually a bit of a reroute for me. So we usually come to this fight from a different path, but this path actually saves a few seconds, so I'm going to try and use it. It is a bit more risky, though. We might get another fight spawn later on, and this fight spawn actually. So that's lovely. But we managed to make it through, so we're good. All right, so this is Yuji Shiraki, a very, very tall gentleman. We are going to take Yuji Shiraki and swing him around. After this, we're going to pick up bats and, you know, finish things up. The reason I threw the bat at that guy is that I only had one hit left, and one hit wouldn't finish him off. So I might as well stun him from afar. Alright, here's where... Well, first of all, after this fight... Oh no, really? This is Majima. This is bad. Oh my god. Alright, we got caught by Majima. Not much I could have done about that. So Majima here isn't too bad. All he takes is this charge throw to get rid of. The problem is that there's this dialogue that takes up time, and now we're gonna see the Majima everywhere meter go up, and that also takes time. And later we're going to get a phone call related to that. That's also going to take time. So yeah, this is why I don't usually use this reroute. What made me decide to use it on a marathon run is quite beyond me to explain. At any rate, we talked to this guy in the street who said, "Hey, I have something to give you for 30,000 yen, but I can't tell you what it is." And we decided it's a good idea to just go with it and pay him the 30,000 yen. And this actually weirdly turns out to be a good decision, because this opens up this illegal weapon shop where we will sell some items we don't need, and we will buy the super spicy knife, 6 shotguns, sorry, that's the wrong weapon, 6 shotguns, and 2 handguns. So this is quite common in Yakuza runs. Many Yakuza runs have the moment in the game where you finally buy guns. This is the phone call I was talking about before, by the way. Yeah, most Yakuza runs have the moment where you just buy a bunch of guns somewhere, and suddenly fights are completely free. In Kiwami, they're actually not completely free, because bosses and mini-bosses take basically no damage from guns, so they're useless against them. Unlike runs like Yakuza 3 and 4, where guns don't just demolish bosses, they also completely stun-lock them. But this will make dealing with minions much easier through the rest of this run. And we will actually have an occasion to demonstrate this in just a few moments. So this is the final gang we're going to go up against, the Red Gang, or the Bloody Eye, I suppose. It's just this one guy, so it should be pretty simple. But no, of course, it's not just the one guy. It's this entire group of dudes in red jackets, including two characters who I know people who've played Kiwami casually know and are very fond of, the Akai Brothers. The Akai Brothers are really, really annoying in a casual playthrough, and they're actually quite annoying in the run as well, so we're going to try and get rid of them as soon as possible. So, first step is we're gonna pull out the spicy knife, and we're going to get rid of Big Boy Akai. I'm getting rid of Big Boy Akai for a reason that will become clear in a moment. That's not what I meant to do. Come on, menu. I'm going to take out this shotgun, and I'm going to shoot that group of enemies and shoot that group. Now, sometimes when you shoot those enemies, it also hits whatever Akai brother is left. And the bigger Akai brother will sometimes get knocked down to the floor. And that's very bad because he will be stuck in that animation for a long time unless you use knockdown grab to pick him up, which is also a time loss. The other Akai brother, the one I left for last, usually doesn't get knocked down from shotgun. He usually shakes it off immediately. So it's a lot safer to leave him for last. Even though the other Akai brother is safer in another sense, in the sense that he's pretty passive and doesn't really have any great attacks, but the Akai brother I had there can sometimes punish you for standing too close. But we made it through alright, so it is A-okay. Okay, so the next two chapters coming up are very fun in that they basically are just long set pieces. The entirety of Chapter 9 coming up is a set piece, and most of Chapter 10 is a set piece. So we're gonna have a lot of combat, gonna have a lot of fun. And yeah, really, this is probably my favorite part of the run. Chapters 7 to 10. So let me just take some time here. I'm skipping most of the cutscenes, but let me show you here. Like, most of the time when we shoot someone with Kiryu or use a knife, you can say, okay, that's not canonical, though. The real Kiryu wouldn't do this. It's still true that Kiryu's never killed anyone canonically, right? Look at this cutscene. Kiryu asked this guy about his boss, and this guy obviously doesn't know anything, but the other guy hears the name and tries to shoot Kiryu. And Kiryu, rather than running over to the guy and disarming him, just uses this poor guy as a human shield. So, like, you can't deny that. Clearly, that guy is dead. And, yeah, that's, I don't know. That's the greatest Kiryu's never killed anyone moment for me in the entire game. It's, quite something. Anyway, we're using our shotguns to clear these people up. Oh, this is really good. This fight is going very well so far. Rubber bullets. The butler was. Yeah. You can come up with your own fancy explanations for this. They'll make sense. They'll make as much sense as anything the devs would come up with. I think I stabbed the wrong guy. This is extremely bad. This is extremely bad. Oh no! And now I'm going down to the bottom floor. Oh my god. This run is looking troubled. I'm gonna pick that up just for safety. Gonna use this Stamina Royale. And now I'm gonna go stab this guy. Alright, cool. This part of Chapter 9 is always a mess, because there's so many enemies all getting up together, and you need to be really precise, and if you try to do things fast, chances are you're going to land in that corner of the top floor, which is just always going to be trouble. Alright, so I'm going to do some manipulations here just to get enemies in the correct positions. So I'm gonna be able to take them down easily with the shotgun. Don't hit me. Alright. And one more shot should finish this. Oh, you're still alive. Okay, we're good. Alright, that was a bit of a mess at the end there, but this was actually a decent kitchen. And now that we're done with all the minions, we can finally go up against Lau Kalong. So Lau Kalong begins much like we've become accustomed to with bosses. I'm going to charge throw him, pull out a knife, and use this heat move. The thing is, Lau Kalong, like many bosses in Kiwami, refuses to acknowledge defeat even when he's on 1 HP. So we're going to have to convince him that he's actually been defeated. I do this by stomping on him and then using that vase to break his first weapon. Now I'm going to keep using the vase to hopefully quickly break his second weapon, and that will finish him off. Yeah, Yakuza bosses in general really want to show you all the neat stuff they have in store. So even if you technically should have defeated them at that point, they will, in many cases, still come back and still stick around until you get rid of more of their phases. So here's something that belongs in every Yakuza game, a shooting section. This was actually on the original PS2 game. I have no idea what they thought putting that in, but you gotta admire the devs for being bold enough to include a shooting section in their PS2 game. This is thankfully not too bad on PC because you can actually use keyboard and mouse controls. Or rather, keyboard controls in this part. In the Yakuza 0 port, you actually can't, and I'm getting some really good shots in. So here's the funny thing about the shooting section in this game. You are actually not aiming at anyone's heads. As you can see, I'm doing more damage the closer to the center of the circle that I'm shooting. So I'm not aiming towards heads, I'm aiming to be as close to the center of the circle. These also, yeah, all of these are rubber bullets. Don't worry. Rubber bullets, those are rubber explosions when the cars go up in flames. No members of the Yakuza were harmed in the making of this run. Oh, one funny thing. I actually am playing this game on lowest possible graphical settings. Not for speed tech, mind you, just because this game was constantly crashing my PC until I did that. But as a result, whenever this truck gets too far away, it becomes translucent, which is really funny to me. It's going to be especially funny in a moment, because look at the driver. He's just floating in the air. It's really great. And you can actually see the guys that we shot down still on the roof of the truck. Quite something. You can sometimes one-cycle this guy, but it's difficult. Real-time CGI explosions. Most definitely. Okay, and that's Chapter 9. Coming up, Chapter 10. So, the things that are going to happen... Actually, first of all, let me take care of some stuff. This is actually going to be where we get the last batch of upgrades in the run. So first of all, I'm going to remember to equip a shotgun. And now I'm going to pick up the rest of the health and damage upgrades we need for the run. To be honest, we don't really need any health upgrades for this run. As you've seen, like, at no point in this run, even when things went really bad, has my HP bar ever gone lower than 1/2? The only reason we're picking up the health upgrades is because they're on the way to the damage upgrades. If we didn't need to go through them, we probably wouldn't pick them up at all, or like pick up 1 or 2 just for safety. All right, so we come back with Haruka from Yokohama, by the way. Shout out to Yakuza 7. That's where Chapter 9 took place. And what we are doing down here... it turns out that Shinji and Reina are on the run from Nishiki's goons. So, turns out Reina's been feeding Nishiki information this whole time. You probably don't even know who Reina is. She's the woman who was at the bar. We don't really get to talk much about her during this run. Because again, explaining this story in just 2 hours is a fool's errand. But at any rate, Reina was feeding Nishiki information, and now that she's no longer useful, he's trying to kill her. And Shinji is trying to help her, but he also needs help from us. So we're going to look for Shinji and Reina. The way we do this is by going after this trail of blood, which, if you're... I can't believe we're getting another fight spawn. Alright, that's fine. You know what? I'm actually going to use this in my favor. I need to switch fighting styles at the beginning of the next set piece, and it's actually kind of tight. So I'm going to use this fight for that. Yeah, I'm glad people liked the Ghost Struck. That's become one of my favorite things about this run. Anyway, you look at these, like, very intermittent blood spots. What sort of wound causes you to A, bleed so much, but B, also bleed so infrequently? I have no idea. That's for the game to answer. I just work here. Okay, and we are off. So this is where we really start using a lot of guns. So I'm gonna jump back here. Pull out the gun. Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. I didn't want to use an extra shot, so I had to take care of the guy with my bare fists, which I don't like doing. Because we have guns. We've evolved past the need for fists at this point in the run. At any rate, I'm going to use the shotgun on this nice gentleman here. I'm going to switch back to Brawler because you can use weapons you have equipped in Rush, but you can't pick up weapons, which is kind of a weird balancing decision, but we work around it. At any rate, that was that. I'm shooting down these two guys, shooting down these guys, and we are fresh out of ammo. So as soon as I'm able, I'm going to go into the menu and switch to my next shotgun and take care of the 3 gentlemen in this room. So it's actually pretty important that we can pick up guns, because it makes our ammo route a lot less tight. For example, here, these enemies we took out have guns, so I'm just going to pick up a gun down here and shoot all 3 guys in this room. Alright. Pull out the shotgun again, take care of these 3 guys. And shooting this guy is going to teleport us to the door. He was holding a gun as well, so I'm going to pick that up. And I'm actually also going to equip a gun of my own. We'll see why in a moment. Hello, sir, sir. Okay, nice. So I had 10 shots in the gun when we started, and there were 3 enemies on that roof. So that's 3 shots down. I'm going to shoot at this guy, shoot at this guy all the way at the end of the corridor. And coming up here, we are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 enemies to shoot. Move on to the next rooftop, shoot this guy. And you may think, okay, there's 1 more guy, so we're actually missing a bullet. Actually, no. You don't want to shoot that guy when you finish off that guy, he does an animation, and you can't actually walk through him. So he would actually block us for a few seconds from going up the stairs if we shot him there. So we actually take care to grab him, move him away, and then actually proceed. Okay, this is an skippable cutscene, so excuse me while I refill my water. Alright. Arase. This fight was probably really annoying to a lot of people. I know it was to me. But thanks to the power of shotgun, we're pretty good. Just gonna have to pick this man up. And now I'm going to equip the spicy knife. And that is the end for Arase. You really need to be economic there, because Arase can actually be a huge problem if you don't deal with him quickly. Okay, after all that, like I said, chapters 9 and 10, very snappy episodes, really just mostly set pieces, lots of action, very little downtime. And then you go immediately to chapter 11, which I think is the least favorite chapter for anyone who runs this game. This chapter is a real dud. It takes forever until we get into a fight. And there's a lot of backtracking, there's a lot of going around the same areas of the map. And it's not fun. That's why I very rarely continue dead runs past this chapter. I believe in finishing runs. But if my run is dead before this chapter, I generally don't have a lot of motivation to continue it, because I really don't like chapter 11. So yeah, we're going to be going back and forth on this street a lot. What happens in this chapter is as follows. Shinji, who died in the last chapter, was our liaison with our old family boss, Kazama. And we need to get in touch with Kazama. The problem is that, we now have no way of contacting him. So we want to get in touch with someone who maybe Shinji trusted and gave some information about how to contact Kazama in case he dies. And it turns out that Shinji's girlfriend, Akemi, if I remember correctly, works at a place called Shangri-La, which is a recreational facility for adults. And you can't just walk into Shangri-La, you need a membership pass. So rather than just going to Shangri-La and muscling our way in, Kiryu decides to be more reasonable this time and just get a membership pass. The way we do that is we contact a host by the name of Shinmei. Shinmei is an illegal Chinese immigrant to the country, and she asks Kiryu to get her a fake passport. She says if he gets her the passport, she can get him the membership card. And there's some subtext here about immigration and the treatment of illegal immigrants in Japan. It really is a nice part in terms of the overall plot and themes of the game. But in the speedrun, it's very boring. This is the first fight we get to in this chapter. And, well, just to explain how interesting it is, here's how it goes. I do a hit swing here. That already gets rid of most of the enemies. Then I switch to brawler. Sword, sword, sword. That's it. That's the entire fight. And it's going to be a long time before we get to another one. So, space out your meals, as they say. At any rate, turns out this lady in black is a forger, and she can help us get a fake passport for Shinmei. Why the game has us actually physically go back to the club where she works instead of teleporting us there, I have no idea. Like I've said, this game is pure evil. But that's just what we have to deal with. That's the game for you. Oh no, not another fight spawn. No, go away, go away, go away. Okay, we're good. Alright, here's where we get the fake passport, and we're just gonna go back to Shinmei and hand her the fake passport. Out here, you can sometimes get a Majima encounter, and where Kiryu looks will actually tell you where Majima is. So I'm always staring deeply into Kiryu's eyes in this part of the chapter. The good thing about having to go through Pink Street so much is that there's actually a lot of NPCs to talk to and a lot of sub-story triggers. So you have a lot of ways of trying to despawn a fight if an unfortunate one comes up. But no, we're actually getting good RNG for a change. Alright, coming back to Shinmei, she tells us that she's sorry, she was actually lying, she doesn't have a membership card for us. Kiryu, being a good guy, lets her keep the passport anyway. And she tells him that there's actually a former client of hers that might have a membership card he would be willing to let go of as a favor to her. So we are going to go back near the club we came to, but not exactly the same place. Do I want to risk it? Yeah, let's risk it. I could have just talked to the NPC to despawn those guys, but I felt like living dangerously there. By the way, in actual runs, I don't really have a choice anymore. In my actual runs, I always just have to run past the fight spawns, because I'm no longer in a position where I can PB where I've spent a lot of time dodging fight spawns. I kind of just have to commit at this point in the run's life. Okay, so this guy, Shinmei's client, he says he's willing to part with his membership card for 300,000 yen, which is why we needed so much money, or one of the reasons we needed so much money in this run. But yeah, that's it. We've done all our weapons stuff. We've done all our money stuff. We've done all the sub-story stuff. We are just going to blaze through the game at this point. No more side activities needed for anything. So here's the really weird part of the game. I'm going to equip a shotgun here. So this is another fight that's not in the original game. And the reason why it even happens, we don't know for sure, but the theory is... Well, let me get through the fight first. So this fight is actually quite simple. I'm going to equip a shotgun, and that should get rid of most of these guys. Alright, needed 2 shots, and even that wasn't enough. That's unfortunate. Okay. Let me just get rid of this guy. Okay. So after getting rid of all the minions, we charge through this guy and use the sword. It's actually kind of delicate here because Majima can be too useful and knock this guy to the ground, and then we can't charge throw him. And you lose a lot of time for that. But that was actually fine. Or it wasn't fine, it just was fine because I had to waste time on getting rid of the last minion anyway. At any rate, if you remember, we had a fight with Majima in Chapter 5, and canonically, at the end of that fight, Majima gets accidentally stabbed by one of his own men. And in the original game, you don't see Majima again until this chapter. And he comes back with this big bandage on his stomach to indicate the stabbing. The problem is, this game has the Majima Everywhere system, and they can't really get rid of Majima for half of the game. So they had to have some excuse why in the scene that we're going to see coming up, he has that bandage, and he has kind of a chip on his shoulder regarding Kiryu. So that's the reason I would say for that part, why didn't they just change the cutscene and remove his bandage, you may ask? My theory, and this is just a theory because obviously I don't know the developers and can't ask them. My theory is they worked on the CG cutscenes. This is horrible RNG, by the way, in terms of fight spawns. Like, 2 fight spawns on that path is terrible, terrible. That's about as terrible as this can go. But yeah, my theory is that they actually worked on the CG cutscenes separately from the development of the game. Like, they had them prepared kind of in parallel, and they just didn't have time to edit them after the fact. So that's why weird stuff like that happens. You might notice also in Chapter 5 that the character models they used for the guards in Purgatory in the CG cutscene, they're completely different from the ones you see in the cutscene. It's very strange. Anyway, that is neither here nor there. I'm going to equip my second handgun now, and we are going to embark on yet another set piece. Finally, the interesting part of the chapter. So this is where we meet with Shinmei. She gives us the information we need, but then we actually get cornered here by Majima and his goons. Luckily, we don't actually need to deal with any of these guys. I'm just going to change to rush, and I'm going to rush past all of them. The only enemies here we actually need to deal with are the sofa guys, who you can't go past them without knocking them out, which is why we have the handgun. So 1 shot for first sofa guy, 2 for second sofa guy. Bit of an animation cancel there to have to make that go a bit faster. And here we go. So this is our last fight with Majima, except for the very real possibility that we'll get... Oh no, we already got the Majima everywhere encounter. We can't get it again. Cool. Alright, so here we go. Again, Majima is also one of the bosses that doesn't want to go away on his own, so I'm going to change to rush and kick him a bit. Now this part is RNG, and this is the bad RNG, because of course it is. So Majima can either do a QTE do a quick time event right away or after his Kiwami. If he does it after his Kiwami, you lose about 10 to 15 seconds. Yes, that is again 10 to 15 seconds you lose to completely random stuff. But after that, he's just 1 shot because he's 1 HP, and it's all good. And that's the end of Chapter 11. We have only 2 more chapters coming up. The next chapter, Chapter 12, is very, very short. So we are still... There's still a very good possibility that this run will be under 2 hours. Even though it was really... Like, this run, in terms of luck, was just really, really bad. Okay, so... Coming up, the longest set of cutscene skips in the game. I've just skipped 1 cutscene at the beginning, another cutscene right now, and now we'll be skipping 8 cutscenes. This is basically a huge plot dump where Kazama explains everything that went on in the game at once. I am going to explain literally none of it because none of it makes sense and it would take entirely too long. Okay, there you go. Now we can start the fighting. So there's a reason why I finished the Majima fight on rush, because I want to be in rush here. I'm going to pull out the shotgun, shoot these guys, run a bit, shoot some more, and then shoot this guy before I can do that. Okay, that's fine, we made it through. Now I'm going to switch to brawler. I shot this shotgunner off screen. Oh no. I did not want that to happen. What am I doing? That's what I want. Alright. And now I'm going to grab this big boy, charge throw him, and stomp him. And we're good. The reason why I pick up the shotgun on the floor is two reasons. One, to save ammo, because I need the rest of my shotgun for this section. But also, that shotgun is actually more powerful. And some of the enemies in that first part actually take 0 damage from our normal shotgun, so we need something more powerful for them. Alright, these guys refuse to... Okay. Your allies in this part are usually kind of useless, but they actually did a good job of finishing off the enemies this time, so it's all good. And that's chapter 12. We are coming up on the finale. So yeah, we're talking about something like 10 more minutes for the run. So if I don't mess up this finale too much, then the sub 2 hour dream is still alive. So we already encountered Majima, but if you're wondering, can Majima appear in this part and ruin your world record pace run? Yes, he can. Has he done that to me before? Yes, he has. About 4 times. I'm not bitter about this game, by the way. I just wanted the record to show that I'm not bitter. We get 300,000 from the Stardust Boys at this point, which is very nice. Would have been nicer before Chapter 11, but you know, you take what you can get. This money is completely useless to us now. Okay, so part 1 out of 3 of the finale is these 4 fights in Tenkaichi Street. I'm going to go to Rush. Move all the way back. Oh, that was good. I got all... No, that's not what I meant to do. Okay. That's good. Whew. I didn't mean to pick that thing up, but throwing it actually knocked the guy down, so it worked out. Okay. These 2 fights are going to look very similar. Everyone is lined up already, so I'm just going to pull out the shotgun. Shoot everyone. Like I said, bosses and mini-bosses take barely any damage from guns. However, they do get staggered, so I can use that to grab this big boy. This guy had the audacity to survive my shotgun blast, but we took care of him. It's all good. And then what I do for the last fight, normally I would do the same thing I did in the first fight. However, you'll notice there's a guy with a gun here on the left. I really, really don't want him to shoot me, so I'm going to use a heat swing and then shoot him. It's just a bit safer and doesn't lose much time. Okay, and like most Yakuza games, this one's climax takes part in the Millennium Tower, which we are going to presently. Just need to keep an eye out for fight spawns, because they sure do love showing up at this point. And here they are, yes. This is going to be a bit dicey. Alright, we made it through. I do need a fresh... Well, not a fresh shotgun. I need a shotgun with at least 3 bullets in it. Preferably 4. Walk a bit to the left, otherwise you might miss one of the guys behind the pillar. Finish up everyone here, grab a gun, and go upstairs. Up here, there's some nasty guys with guns. We don't want to get shot by them. Okay, so far so good. I needed one more gun. That's a gun I already used. Don't shoot me! No! I said don't shoot me. That's also a gun I already used. What? Okay. Here's a gun with bullets in it. Finally. Okay, so again, not a lot of damage there, but by shooting that guy, I stagger him, which allows me to grab him for free. No risk of him slipping away. I'm going to now equip my last gun and also heal up. And switch to Rush. Okay. Shoot down these boys. There's one behind me. And I'm going to switch to my last unused shotgun and go down here. And again, much like the Tenkaichi street fights, this is going to work out beautifully. Most of the guys are going to get taken out by the shotgun, the mini-boss gets staggered, and he can get finished off with a charge throw. And that was the second of the 3 parts of this finale. So we're actually coming into the last stretch of the run. Okay, after all of these cutscene skips, man, this game is hard on the wrist. We have these lovely boys up here. I'm going to shoot them. This guy, he loves doing that. Murasei, he loves clocking me from there. That's fine though. We are now going to have a bit of a sequence where there's a lot of dudes with guns. I'm going to come here, use the time it takes those dudes to drop down to pull out my shotgun, shoot some guys here. By using the handgun that got left behind there, I can spare the rest of my shotguns for the guys coming up. There's one guy in the corner coming up. I want to take care of him first. Then these boys. Okay, now I need to pick up a gun. Shoot this man. Get some healing items for safety. Shoot this guy. Shoot this guy. This will teleport us over. And here I'm going to use Rush again, purely for mobility. I'm also going to menu here. I'm going to heal. And I'm going to equip my super spicy knife, which I actually won't be using in this fight. We used to use knives in this fight, but no longer. Instead, we're going to do something that actually might be a bit surprising, but Heat Swing, the thing we used to get rid of minions, it's actually also useful here. And this is also why we need Knockdown Grab, because Knockdown Grab allows me to do that. And actually get rid of that kernel much faster. I break this guy's guard, and I'm gonna sock Jingu a couple of times. Just for good measure. And this is when these guys come back. When my heart sank when this happened on my casual playthrough of Kiwami. On my first playthrough. But that's fine, we can deal with these guys. I'm gonna use this item, and I'm going to repeat what we did in the first part of the fight. Again, grab this guy, swing him around, break this guy's defense. Hello, sir. Okay. No, come back here. Alright. Jingu's acting up. Oh, really? The double sun. Can you stop it? I really need you to quit. Okay, eventually we got rid of Jingu. And now comes the final battle, the climax, the final boss fight against Nishiki. The dragon versus the koi. Had a hard time in this fight. The Jingu fight is very, very difficult casually. In fact, it's also quite difficult in the speedrun. Like this guy has killed many PB pace runs for many runners. Okay. So I'm gonna heal up just for safety. Now I'm gonna grab Nishiki, do a charge throw, and then a knife heat move. Again, the normal approach. However, Nishiki lingers even more so than any other boss. He has 3 phases we have to get through. The cool thing is, if his health is low enough, you can trigger each subsequent phase by just headbutting him at the right time. Like so. If you miss the headbutt, he gets a Kiwami move that regenerates a lot of health and takes a lot of time. So it's actually quite a big time save. to be able to do this. Yeah, the story of Nishiki is quite tragic, and especially if you came from Yakuza 0, there's this whole sequence with Nishiki at the end of Yakuza 0 that, even on its own, is very touching, but especially if you know what happens later in the series, it's really heartbreaking. They did really good work with him. Anyway, this QTE was the last input of the run, so time will be coming up when Kiryu punches Nishiki. Technically, time comes up when there's the shift to blue in the colors, but it'll be when Kiryu punches Nishiki. So get ready on time. And... time. And that's Yakuza Kiwami. That was actually a fantastically terrible run of Yakuza Kiwami. But even though that, we still got it down in under 2 hours, and sub 2 hours for a marathon is good for me. I think that's fine. Thank you everyone for the GGs. Not really much more for me to say. I know this run was a mess, but if despite that I have managed to convince you that this run is exciting and volatile and fun, I know I called this game pure evil and complained about it a lot, but I do enjoy running this game despite my rhetoric. So if this seems like something you would like to run, there is a written guide written many years ago by Lilligram. There is a video guide by me. And I'm always happy to help people get into this run, so feel free to whisper me on Twitch or contact me on Discord or speedrun.com or whatever. And yeah, thank you very much, ARPGME, for letting me run this year. Any other things to say before we sign off? Before I sign off, rather?
Oh, thank you for the wonderful run. Much appreciated for showing off Yakuza Kiwami. I think this is the first time I've actually seen this particular Yakuza game being played fast for a marathon setting. So I think you did an excellent job with being entertaining and showing off this wonderful game and series when you were talking about it.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. That's all I can really hope, to make people more interested in these games and their speedruns. Alright, so that's it for me. Thank you again, everyone. And yeah, there's many other great runs coming, so I'm definitely going to hang around, and I hope you will as well.